This program was brought to you by PennyMac TPO. Visit tpo.pennymac.com to learn more about becoming a partner and starting your journey to greatness. With the people, products, and technology to take you there, it's why they say, at PennyMac, greatness lives here.
Welcome to The Interest. I'm Mike Savino. The story around First Guaranteed Mortgage Corporation's financial situation keeps evolving. After letting go of 471 employees via a virtual meeting last week, things keep getting worse for the company. That's because FGMC filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy this morning. Now, the company says that the action has no impact on closed mortgages, which are already serviced by third parties. And FGMC says it's identified potential partners who can help with loans that are in the pipeline now. But questions remain about their long-term outlook. FGMC says that it still owes almost $35 million combined to 30 creditors. FGMC says it suffered a sharp and unexpected decline because of the dramatic collapse of the mortgage refinance market and the weakening of the purchase market, which has suffered from a lack of housing inventory and increasing affordability issues. The company notified the laid-off employees via email Wednesday night that they're eligible for some severance, 1 week's pay for each year of employment. Employees who are with the company for less than a year can get 1 week's pay. FGMC says it's retained 134 employees. In other news, the average worker nationwide now has to spend almost a third of their wages on the cost of homeownership. Adam says that this share of income needed for homeownership hasn't grown this fast since the year 2000. Potential buyers did get some relief this week, with mortgage rates cooling just a bit. After eclipsing 5.8% last week, the rate came back down for a 30-year fixed to 5.7% this week. But that relief is likely small as home prices continue to rise, especially for underserved borrowers who have already had a harder time securing a loan. Some members of Congress want to know what they can do to help Black and brown borrowers get a loan. Our own Christine Stewart has more from a congressional hearing Wednesday.
Mortgage rates have increased significantly this year due to Federal Reserve interest rate hikes. Earlier in the pandemic, however, interest rates were historically low. Many home buyers and owners were able to take advantage of low rates to refinance, but people of color were disproportionately denied refinance applications or remained locked out of home ownership due to lack of down payment or other barriers.
I was that victim of predatory lending, and I was that woman taken advantage of in the real estate market because no one held my hand to buy a home. My solution: to get a real estate license and stand before you as the national president to make a difference.
Lydia Pope, president of the National Association of Real Estate Brokers, says in order to combat this problem, Congress should offer down payment assistance, standardize student loan calculations, and eliminate loan-level pricing adjustments. But not all the witnesses during Wednesday's House Financial Services Subcommittee meeting agreed on the solution.
That the best way for the federal government to make housing more affordable is to reverse course on federal policies that increase demand.
Norbert Michel of the Cato Institute says the federal government should stop offering assistance.
It is true that home equity frequently represents a large portion of many Americans' wealth, but it does not follow that federal policy should promote housing debt. In fact, home equity depends largely on home price appreciation, an attribute fundamentally in conflict with more affordable housing.
Democrats on the committee disagreed.
Housing is a fundamental human right. And across the country and in my district, the Massachusetts 7th, millions of people do not have access to a safe, decent, and affordable place to call home. For decades, Black families have been locked out of home ownership opportunities due to discriminatory lending. And now, private equity-backed institutional landlords have pushed this dream even further out of reach by gobbling up single-family homes and worsening the housing crisis across this country.
Pope says these institutional investors are driving up home prices in predominantly Black communities. The role of institutional investors was the topic of Tuesday's hearing.
This hearing is about home ownership. But right now, home ownership isn't even feasible for many in my district who are being squeezed by predatory rent hikes imposed by institutional investors.
For the Mortgage News Network, I'm Christine Stewart.
So, as states become more differentiated based on their laws, I think it is going to be a bigger factor when people decide where to live.
Fresh off the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe versus Wade, experts are saying we could see people moving to states based on abortion laws and other social issues. It's obviously too early to see whether this is actually happening in the market, but Redfin is pointing to an October survey as a sign of what might come. 40% of people who recently moved say that they either will only live in a state where abortion is legal or prefer to. That's compared with 32% who say they do not want to live in a state where abortion is legal. Only 28% of people said that they don't care. The survey found similar strong stances on other social issues like same-sex marriage and recreational marijuana. Typically, people have focused only on economic issues when shopping for a place to live, things like housing prices, the local cost of living, and access to jobs. But that could change. Not only did the Supreme Court give states the right to decide whether to allow abortion access, but Justice Clarence Thomas also indicated a desire to overturn other landmark cases, including the right to same-sex marriage and expanded access to contraceptives.
We see that in our survey, that there's some people who want to live in a state, or actually almost equal number of people who want to live in a state with conservative-leaning politics compared.
Remote access could let some people move out of state for political reasons and not lose their job. Meanwhile, we could also see economic and social issues overlap for some workers as companies move to states that pass laws that they support.
This program was brought to you by PennyMac TPO. Visit tpo.pennymac.com to learn more about becoming a partner and starting your journey to greatness.
For more on these and all of today's top stories, visit mortgagenewsnetwork.com.